A solitary voice from the past recorded a chilling confession on Alcatraz just hours before his own execution. In the mist-shrouded waters of San Francisco Bay, a notorious island prison rose like a specter from the depths, its very existence a testament to the darker corners of human nature. Alcatraz Island, a place where hope was extinguished and despair reigned, would become one of the most infamous prisons in American history. As we stand on the windswept shores of San Francisco, we can almost feel the weight of Alcatraz's storied past bearing down upon us. This unforgiving rock, once home to a thriving Native American population, was forcibly taken from them by the U.S. government in the mid-19th century, its original inhabitants forcibly relocated to reservations on the mainland. The island itself became a place of exile for those deemed too dangerous, too violent, or simply too troublesome to be tolerated in the wider world. It was here that Alcatraz's notorious reputation began to take shape. Opened in 1934, this maximum security prison was designed to house the worst of the worst, inmates who had outlived their chances in the outside world. Those sentenced to life without parole or death row will be spared no mercy on these windswept shores. The very air seemed to vibrate with an aura of foreboding, as if the island itself was alive and watching those who dared to set foot within its walls. At the helm of Alcatraz's notorious administration stood the brilliant yet ruthless Warden James A. Johnston. A man of unyielding conviction and iron will, Johnston would stop at nothing to ensure that his prison remained a fortress of discipline, where inmates were forced to submit to an unforgiving regime of hard labor, solitary confinement, and psychological manipulation. Those who dare to resist will be dealt with swiftly and severely, by any means necessary. But it was not just the harsh conditions that made Alcatraz a place of dark legend. It was also the curious case of the escapees, a group of hardened inmates who managed to evade capture, only to vanish into thin air. Some say they were smuggled out to freedom, while others claim that the U.S. government itself may have been involved in their escape. The truth, like the island itself, remains shrouded in mystery. One name would come to dominate our thoughts: Frank Morris, a master thief and con artist who, along with fellow inmates John Anglin and Clarence Anglin, orchestrated one of the most audacious escapes in Alcatraz's history. On the night of June 11th, 1962, these three men vanished into the darkness, leaving behind only a whisper of their existence: a small stash of homemade papier-mâché heads, fashioned to deceive the prison's vigilant guards. As we delve deeper into the labyrinthine corridors of Alcatraz, we begin to realize that nothing is as it seems. The lines between truth and deception are blurred, and the very fabric of reality appears to be twisted beyond recognition. It is here, in this eerie and foreboding place, that we will unravel the threads of a mystery that has haunted America for decades. A story of survival, of betrayal, and of a prison that remains shrouded in an eternal veil of secrecy. The legend of Alcatraz whispers secrets to those who dare to listen. The dark history of Alcatraz prison. As the years went by, the island's notorious reputation only grew. The escape attempts became more brazen, the violence more frequent, and the authorities more vigilant. In 1954, a fire broke out in Cell Block, sending a haze of smoke throughout the prison, where two inmates were electrocuted while trying to escape. This was followed by a string of riots, including a 1960 incident that saw prisoners armed with homemade knives and clubs storming through the corridors. The federal government began to take notice of Alcatraz's descent into chaos. In an effort to quell the unrest, the authorities introduced more stringent security measures, including solitary confinement cells for hardened offenders. However, these new policies only seemed to fuel the inmates' resentment towards their captors. It was as if they were trapped in a living nightmare from which there was no escape. In 1958, an FBI agent named Robert Hansen arrived on the island, tasked with rooting out corruption and restoring order. He soon discovered that Alcatraz was plagued by a culture of cronyism and favoritism among the staff. Some guards were taking bribes, allowing certain inmates to smuggle in contraband or exchange information about the prison's security vulnerabilities. As Hansen delved deeper into the scandal, he found evidence of widespread embezzlement and corruption among the high-ranking officials. He also uncovered a web of deceit that went all the way to the top, involving corrupt politicians and government agencies who were secretly backing the warden's activities in exchange for kickbacks and favors. Retention hook. But what happened next changed everything, and what we found will shock you. In 1962, President John F. Kennedy visited Alcatraz, determined to put an end to the scandal once and for all. However, instead of confronting the corruption head-on, he chose to use the island as a dumping ground for America's most notorious prisoners. The decision was met with widespread outrage among the public, who were still reeling from the revelations of embezzlement and cronyism. As the years went by, Alcatraz became a symbol of the American prison system's failures, a place where hope was lost and humanity was crushed. The stories of its most infamous inmates, like Al Capone and Robert Stroud, took on a haunting quality, their names forever etched in the annals of American history as the embodiment of justice failed. But as we explore the dark history of Alcatraz, we begin to unravel a sinister thread, one that speaks to a darker purpose behind the island's infamous reputation. A purpose that will lead us down a path of discovery and terror into the very heart of America's most haunted prison. In 1949, Alcatraz prison reached its peak capacity, housing a notorious mix of high-risk inmates, including Charles Pretty Boy Floyd and Robert Stroud, the Birdman of Alcatraz. The maximum security facility was designed to be escape-proof, with walls made of steel-reinforced concrete, watchtowers, and an innovative ventilation system. But it was also here that one fateful event would change everything. It began on March 21st, 1962, when Frank Morris, Clarence Anglin, and John Anglin, three inmates from different parts of the prison's population, disappeared during a routine count. The incident sent shockwaves through the institution, with many believing it was an inside job orchestrated by corrupt guards or rival inmates seeking revenge. However, as the FBI launched a massive investigation, one disturbing revelation began to surface. In 1979, over 17 years after the escape, a civilian diver named Jim Sweat claimed to have found evidence of the three men's bodies in San Francisco Bay. The remains were later confirmed to be those of Morris and Anglin through dental records and x-rays. But what about John Anglin? His disappearance remained a mystery, leaving many to wonder if he had truly perished at sea or had somehow managed to evade capture. As the FBI dug deeper into the escape, they uncovered a web of deceit and conspiracy that went all the way to the top. It was revealed that corrupt guards had been bribed and blackmailed by inmates, allowing them to smuggle in homemade tools and construct crude papier-mâché heads to fool the prison's authorities during the count. The extent of this corruption would lead to a complete overhaul of the prison's administration. The aftermath of the escape sent ripples throughout the U.S. justice system. In 1963, Congress launched an investigation into the events leading up to the escape, which ultimately led to the creation of the Federal Bureau of Prisons' new standards for maximum security facilities. The incident also raised questions about the ethics of prison reform and the use of solitary confinement. In a stunning twist, in 2019, the FBI released previously classified documents revealing that Frank Morris had not only survived his escape, but had also been living under an assumed identity on the mainland. His true story raises more questions than answers. Did he return to Alcatraz? Why was he never caught? The truth behind Morris's survival remains as elusive as ever. The escape of Morris, Anglin, and Anglin from Alcatraz serves as a grim reminder that even in the most secure environments, human vulnerability and desperation can lead to catastrophic consequences. This story is often referred to as the greatest escape of all time, yet its haunting legacy continues to captivate audiences to this day. For over 70 years, the disappearance of these three men has remained one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in American history, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions and an enduring sense of unease. As we reflect on this infamous episode, it's impossible not to be reminded that sometimes, even when all seems lost, there is always hope, or at least the illusion of it. The darkness of Alcatraz prison has long been a subject of fascination and terror. This foreboding island in the San Francisco Bay was once home to some of the most notorious inmates in American history, including Robert Stroud, aka the Birdman of Alcatraz, and George Machine Gun Kelly. The prison's dark past is a testament to the harsh realities of the justice system during the early 20th century. As the years went by, the harsh conditions on the island took its toll on both the inmates and the guards. The notorious solitary confinement cells, known as the holes, were designed to break the spirits of those who dare to defy the law. The sound of waves crashing against the shore and the cries of the condemned echoed through the corridors, a constant reminder of the futility of escape. Despite the isolation, the whispers of rebellion never truly faded. On October 10, 1963, the last prisoner was transferred out of Alcatraz. The prison's closure marked the end of an era, as the federal government acknowledged that solitary confinement had failed to rehabilitate even the most hardened inmates. The realization came too late for some, however, as 22 prisoners died on the island during their time there. But what drove these men to such desperation? What was it about Alcatraz that seemed to strip them of all hope? Was it the isolation itself, or the crushing weight of justice? These questions remain unanswered. One thing is certain, though. Alcatraz's legacy continues to captivate us today. We see echoes of its existence in our modern-day prisons, where solitary confinement remains a contentious issue. We can also draw parallels between Alcatraz and other notorious prison systems throughout history, from the Tower of London to the gulags of Stalin's Soviet Union. These places share a common thread. They represent the darker aspects of human nature and the failures of institutions designed to rehabilitate or punish. The stories of those who were imprisoned on these islands serve as a reminder that justice is not always blind, nor does it always see fit to grant pardons. Today, Alcatraz stands as a testament to the horrors that humanity has inflicted upon one another. It serves as a poignant reminder of our capacity for cruelty and compassion in equal measure. We see glimmers of hope, too, in the lives of former inmates who have found redemption on the outside, thanks to the tireless efforts of advocates and prisoners' rights organizations. Alcatraz's legacy extends beyond its own walls, however. Its dark history informs us about the failures of our justice system, as well as the resilience of those who have been wronged by it. The truth is that some wounds will never fully heal, but acknowledging the darkness of our past can be a crucial step toward healing. Can we look ourselves in the mirror and acknowledge that we are capable of both cruelty and compassion? Is this the line we draw for ourselves and others? The legacy of Alcatraz prison continues to haunt us, leaving an indelible mark on our collective psyche. Its history is a sobering reminder of what happens when institutions fail, and where justice can be perverted by power. This thought should resonate deeply within each of us. What do you think was the most significant factor in the prison's closure? The shift in public opinion about solitary confinement, or something else entirely?